Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now from the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. That over there is at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Merez. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Anthony Rivera at Ant Rivera 86. He will join us a little later on. He'll be here for his fantasy ad of the week, which we'll get to in a little bit. And of course, we'll run the board 10 games on this Thursday NHL slate here. Not too many more weeks until we go into the Olympic break there. So that is not that far away. That's going to be here before you know it.
Will the rink be finished? Who knows? Or maybe the players' dressing room will be just a bunch of stools and like carpets, and then there'll be like some Italian grandmother handing out like orange slices in between periods.
And here's the other thing. I don't know if you saw the picture of the centerized scoreboard that basically looks like they hung up like a large cell phone, like 4 of them. Like
they got the iPad mini out there for the Jumbotron.
Yeah, it's yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I feel like with every Olympics, like there's always like stuff like, oh, this building or this ain't going to be ready on time, blah, blah, blah. And it ends up being fine. But I do worry that some team's significant player is going to get hurt at the Olympics and it's going to have an impact on their season. But I could see that happening because there's a lot of great talent over there. We'll talk more about the that a little bit later as well. We'll touch on that a little bit with the Colorado Avalanche. They're sending a bunch of guys there. But first and foremost here, we're going to debut a new segment. This one is called Pucking Postulates. So basically what I'm going to do here is we're going to throw out a statement based on current factual things as more of a prediction for the future. So first thing we're going to talk about here is the Red Wings will open up the playoffs at home. Now, right now, they sit in second place in the Atlantic Division behind a red-hot Tampa Bay Lightning team, 1 point behind. Lightning have 61. They are a point ahead of the Canadians at 59, and then there's a 5-point gap. That just goes to show you how bad the Sabres started the year, but they're on this run they're having, and they're still 7 points out of first place in the division. I mean, they're in the mix, and they're to be taken seriously. Back to the Red Wings here. We've talked about the Yzer plan on the show not coming to fruition. Maybe this is the year it's taking a step. And I think they will open up the playoffs at home because, I mean, unless Florida makes a real good run, which they could if they get healthy, I don't know if I see anybody else taking it.
No, just straight up no. They have gotten to this point. They have exceeded expectations, or maybe the Yzer plan is finally working-ish. But a lot of this has been the play of John Gibson. And when he runs hot, this team is good. When he goes cold, it's bad, right? It's sometimes
Talbot hasn't been helping.
Right. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe terrible. So there's no middle with John Gibson here. When he goes on a run, it's going to go great. The problem with the Atlantic is, as you said, it's so tight. So even if you go on a 5 or 6 game losing streak, you could be plummeting immediately. You could just be falling apart. And there are some teams that seem poised to kind of get better in the second half. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing better. That's unfortunate. The Florida Panthers are going to start to get, Matthew Tkachuk comes back. That team is a whole lot different. Seth Jones out of the lineup. If Bobrovsky stops being terrible, maybe that helps them as well. Who knows if the Buffalo Sabres are real at this point, but they're making a push. The Montreal Canadiens are still good. There's too many wild card factors here for the Red Wings to be one of the top 2 teams in the Atlantic.
And you didn't mention Boston, where if they keep getting the goaltending they're getting from Swayman, they could be up there too. Pasternak's having a good year. Geeky's having a good year.
There's so much depth missing with the Bruins, though. I feel like they're there, but as this goes on, they'll fade.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Tampa Bay is like a lock to finish as the top team, but if you told me pick any of the teams, it's probably Tampa right now. They would be the safest play, I think, to finish at the top, although they've had to go on quite the run themselves just to play them. But this seems what the Lightning. This seems more like the Lightning we expected and we're used to, and they've kind of put the bumpiness behind them.
Yeah, listen, winners win. There's no way around it. Like John Cooper is a fantastic coach, and he's getting the maximum out of players. That whole organization is great at going out, finding guys who could contribute, and just they win hockey games. I don't know what you want. Like, again, winners win.
There's when the Red Wings got the Sharks on a Friday night at home off a back-to-back tomorrow. That'll be a good one to watch there. Next up on Pucking Postulates, a non-Florida-based goalie will end up leading the league in wins. And why am I asking that question? Because right now, Karel Vejmelka of the Utah Mammoth leads the league at 21. Sergei Bobrovsky, for as bad as he's been, he's gotten the bulk of their wins at 19. Scott Wedgwood and Andrei Vasilevsky also at 19. And Jeremy Swayman there, him and UC Saros 18. Gibson 17, along with Ottinger, Thompson, and Igor Shesterkin. We'll talk about the Rangers for sure in a little bit, but the Rangers have not won a game where Igor Shesterkin has not been the goalie since November 7th. Just to really put it in perspective, how like he I would mind give him a Vezina nomination just because it's like, wow, you were able to keep that team together in those 17 victories as much as you. My God. Anyway, here's the thing. With Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky, both of them are workhorses. Tampa Bay, Johansson, and what they've seen out of him this year, they might give Vasilevsky a little more rest down the stretch. Maybe that costs him some wins. But Bobrovsky, I don't see the same thing happening with Tarasov, but in the same breath, like Wedgwood will come back down to earth with Blackwood playing more. But like you have to look at those like mid teams of the world, like Utah and Nashville, because they're going to play those guys. They're going to ride them. Those are their horses. So whatever wins they get are going to be there. So like if Florida, I think Florida gets hot. So I'm going to say no on this, but I could see a Boston or Utah if they're in the playoff mix with their respective goalies leading the league.
I do agree with you that Johansson demonstrating that he can tend the net and pick up wins might force the Tampa Bay Lightning to say, hey, let's give Vasilevsky some well-deserved nights off, right? Like he has been a workhorse for that team for a long period of time. And there's nothing wrong with as goalies get older to just, let the body relax a little bit. Sergei Bobrovsky is going to go out there. I just feel like the more he's going to play, unfortunately, like he's aging and it's not getting better. So like I'm going to say that no, like a non-Florida goalie will lead, but it's not as clear cut because you're trying to find teams that have these clear top dogs. And we've seen a lot of goalies, right, especially from a fantasy perspective, that are like we didn't expect much out of them, and all of a sudden they're going on these rows. Like, can Karel Vejmelka keep up this play? I don't know, right? If he continues to get starts, and if Utah is still at the hunt for a playoff spot, then probably yes. A lot of these good teams are splitting goalies. Like Colorado has two guys who they're willing to go out there and play every night, and then you got the same thing in Minnesota, right? They got guys who they're willing to go out there every night, and two goalies who could play. Jake Ottinger hasn't been as good, so that hurts his value there. It's kind of like you're going down the list and saying, well, how many goalies can actually get there? If you want to believe the voodoo and the rest of it, like let's say the Red Wings do go on this absolute generational run and John Gibson plays more, I don't know, close to 55 some odd games. Could he lead the league in wins? It's possible. So I just don't know if it's there, but the gap is not as wide. At first, this seemed like a crazy one, and then as you dig a little deeper into the numbers, you're like, wait a minute, it's closer.
So the top two in games played are UC Saros and Karel Vejmelka. Looking at Vitek Vanacek, who's 2-9-2 on the season, 883 save percentage, but has somehow managed to have a sub-3 goals against. So that gives you an idea that Utah is actually a pretty good defensive team there. It was the 883 save percentage, 292, 2-9-2. You look at Justice Annunen, and I don't think he's really going to be pushing for anything too, because he's right there with Vanacek in that, ranked 64th, 4-5-1, 317 goals against, 885 save percentage. So, and Nashville's been playing better lately. Utah's been playing better lately. They're going to just ride these guys and see where it takes them. So, like, to me, those are your top two picks, where I think Boston trusts Eunice Korpisalo a little bit more. That could eat into Swayman because that could make a difference. I still think they'll play Swayman a ton, but they will play Korpisalo an appropriate backup amount, whereas I feel like Utah and Nashville and maybe even Detroit with Gibson, because it's like, you got this guy, just going to get whatever you can get at him at this point. You're going to squeeze that lemon dry. So, I'd say if with Bobrovsky, I could also see him getting some rest down the stretch. Even once they get healthy, it'll be a better situation in front of Tarasov. So I agree with you on this one. Here we go.
Right.
Number 3.
We're cooking.
We are cooking. The Avalanche will fall short of setting the all-time points record, which is 135 by the Bruins in 2022-23. Currently 16-1 to break the record at DraftKings. By the way, I find it very annoying that the default setting on StreamYard is for a 10-second banner flash and not just to stay up until I tell you to come down. If StreamYard, if you're watching this, maybe you want to like default it back to the way it used to be. Anyway, so yeah, 16-1 to break the record. And again, it did. I changed the setting. Anyway, so I'm going to say no on this, and here's why. Avalanche are sending 8 players to the Olympics. They are sending that. When you have a team sending that much, there is bound to be some sort of letdown when they get back. And it's the Avalanche. So a letdown for them is probably going to be losing 2 in a row. You know what I like? It's so like, take it with a grain of salt, maybe 3 in a row. But I think that wear and tear of playing that heavy Olympic style, especially for players like McKinnon, we're going to be playing deeper into the tournament than others. Same thing for Cale Makar. I think that I don't think they have to worry so much about Dallas or Minnesota catching them, but I think they'll fall short. They're on pace for like 134.8 right now. So they're like right there.
I'm going to say yes, just because there are some factors here that play into what they've been doing. This run has been something. They don't lose. I think they recently just lost on home ice or something, which is absolutely diabolical that they can even do that. But the Western Conference, specifically the Pacific Division, is starting to open up in terms of goals that are being scored. It's tighter in the East. The West is not the same. There are clear-cut teams that are bad. So the Chicago Blackhawks are still giving up goals. The Anaheim Ducks look like they can't figure it out anymore. That you could fill the net easily against them 5 or 6 times. San Jose defensively, we know what's happening there. Vegas wins games. Listen, Vegas wins games, but it's not due to their goaltending. And we don't know what type of shape Aiden Hill will be there once he gets there. The Edmonton Oilers, listen, they can pound the back of the net. Nobody's saying they can actually defend. The Calgary Flames are the Calgary Flames. So I forgot the Vancouver Canucks, who are just absolutely abysmal. There are so many teams in the West, even outside of their division, that they can just continue to pound, even when they go on the road. They're not as great of a road team, but they still pick up that loser point. A lot of times on the road, they do go to overtime. Even if they drop it, a point's a point. And as the season goes, statistically, we've seen more and more games go to overtime because teams that are trying to keep up or trying to get that loser point. That's all they're trying to do. Those 3-point games come, end of March, most of April, we're going to see a bunch of them. So they're close right now. They've done it halfway. And I do agree that, yes, going to the Olympics probably makes it, worse.
And it's key players too. It's McKinnon, it's Lance, right. It's Makar, it's Lehkonen.
Yes, there are lots of players that are going to go there. But these guys already play a ton, right? Like I'm looking at guys like McKinnon and Makar for the better part of the last 4 years. They've been a top heavy line, and they'll play 23, 24 minutes up front. Makar will play 27, 28. I just think the way this team is structured, they're getting goals from their depth. The blue line is pretty good. Neither one of their goalies are going, so that probably helps them a little bit. Those guys get some much needed rest. Outside of Makar, we'll see if Taves go, but the rest of that blue line gets a little bit of time to heal and stuff. Brent Burns is like 107. So I would lead yes. At 16-1 on a small unit there. I'll take my chances with that.
So you say yes, I say no. Also, go back to what was it, last week's episode where we broke down how they need to change, or 2 weeks ago, we have to change the playoff format because you're going to have the
Yeah.
top 3 teams in the Western Conference. One of them will be out for sure in the first round. 2 of them will be gone before the conference finals. It's absurd, absurd. And I know it doesn't always happen like this, but just go back to 8. That's all we ask. Yeah, and your breakdown of the West is great. Like, it's a lot closer out there, but I mean, just to kind of put home the point of the season they're having, 33-4-8 is their record, 30 regulation wins. They're 19-0-3 at home. Their goal differential is plus 79. The next best goal differential after that in the NHL is the Lightning at plus 44. That is absurd. And then it's plus 28 for Dallas after that. Insane.
But even if they come back down to earth, maybe they're not pounding their opponents 8-1.
They're still winning games,
maybe they're pounding them only 4-1, but they're still winning hockey games. And that at the end of the day is still worth 2 points.
No, I agree. But I still think they'll fall just short. And again, if you know you're gonna have a Dallas or a Minnesota waiting in the second round, I'm not saying Bednar will, bench guys, but maybe, all right, tonight you're only gonna get 15 minutes instead of like 20. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that, a little bit of that too, depending upon who they play down the stretch, depending upon how their schedule falls down the stretch. Now, here's the last one. I know a lot of us have been waiting to get to the, my take on the Rangers. The last postulate we'll talk about is the Rangers will finish in last place in the Metropolitan Division. Now, before we get to the crux of the issue, let's just actually answer the question first, so we don't get too far off track here. Fantasy ads of the week coming up in a few minutes here, and then pucking preview at 5:35 Eastern, 2:35 Pacific time. Looking at the Metropolitan, I think we agree that Carolina is going to win the division. Margin may not be that big, but they are the most consistent of the bunch. They're going to win. Capitals have been hanging around the top 3 all year, top 3, top 4. They're going to get one of those spots. The Islanders have convinced me that short of a major slump, I think they're right there. Penguins have been playing much better hockey. If Stu Skinner has finally figured it out in Pittsburgh, because his first 3 games are bad, but he's been really good the last few. We'll dive into that later when they talk about play the Flyers tonight. Those are your top 4 right there out of the gate. Phillies may not get to the playoffs, but they're not going to finish in the bottom. Devils are going to move up in the standings now that they're healthier and their goaltending maybe settles down at least a little bit. This is a team we thought was going to finish top 3, so I think they'll move up in the standings. Columbus, now that Rick Bowness is in there, they're probably going to get a little bit of a bump. So I've given reasons for all these teams to not finish last. I invite you to give me a reason why the Rangers won't finish last.
Listen, some people may call me sick for rooting on the downfall of the New York Rangers. And I just want you to tell you, I am ill. I am ill because no part of me is sad watching the New York Rangers get absolutely dog walked by all kinds of different teams, all kinds of them. The smacking they took at the hands of the Boston Bruins, that was one thing. But at the same time, the Rangers have done themselves no favors.
This is their own fault. This is not,
exactly.
This is not, they caught a bad break or something like that. This is their own fault.
They've done no favors. Yes, like every team deals with injuries. So that excuse just goes out the window. Yes, they lost Adam Fox. Yes, they lost Igor Shesterkin.
And those are major losses, but
they are.
Still.
They are, but there are still the majority of their offense has been non-existent on home ice. This isn't it isn't new. This was right out of the gate. They could not score at home. They could not win at home. And now that Igor has gone down, maybe the most glaring problem here is that Jonathan Quick has come back down to reality. There were those last 2 seasons, he was very good in the backup role. Yeah. He is no longer a starter. That body is not holding up. And they don't have a third. They have nobody in the system that could say, hey, I could alleviate some of that. Because you're right. Jonathan Quick's last win was on November 7th. that is the last time, yeah. That is a long time. You cannot have a backup that, even if he plays once a week or something like that, you can have a backup go in and just know you're not going to win. And again, he's done his part. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, but the Rangers are doing him no favors, and his team provides him barely any goal support. So yeah, he's going out there and he's getting absolutely walked. And there's no reason to believe that the Rangers are going to turn it around. The only battle is between them and Columbus. And Columbus decided that they believe that they could still be a playoff team because of how tight the Metropolitan is. So they decided to go out and get Rick Bowness. I don't think he's going to stick around after this season. I think this was just management saying, hey, we're not going to throw this season away, because Dean Evason didn't even get to 2 years. They're already like, hey, we're done here. There are expectations in Columbus. I guess Bowness saw, something he wanted to do, a little bit of have fun. People are going to Columbus now. Good, good for them. But he could definitely take this team, turn it around. I mean, it's
prevent the last place finish, at least.
Prevent it. Yes. Listen, Rick Bowness's hands were all over that Winnipeg Jets team that had that great season. And coaches matter, especially when they're that good. Bowness has a ton of experience. He could come and help this team. There are some young guys on it. He can get the most out of them. Or at least they can make a run and become a better version of what they are now. But there is nothing. The Rangers should be sellers. So if they're sellers, this roster's not getting better.
The only way I think that maybe they don't is if Shesterkin comes back and plays. But what is he playing for? At this point, don't rush him back. B, I'm not saying you got to sit him the rest of the season. And I understand it, but maybe you don't want to put Spencer Martin out there because putting out behind that is not good for a young goalie. Don't rush him back, and there's really nothing to play for at this point. Like, even if the Rangers got on a run and they stole a wild card spot or the 3 spot, what do they really do? Now, it's a lost season, so and I think they will finish in last place just because it's really tough to make. I went through all the other teams. Rangers are the only one that I have. There's no reason to think that they are going to finish anywhere but last place right now. And the thing about Drury, and listen, if I was still 28 to 30-year-old Adam that had split season tickets with a buddy for the Rangers, I'd probably would have had an epic rant that would you get older, you can't get that worked up about things. But I will say this. Chris Drury has tenure as a GM. Go look at his draft record. Is atrocious. I'm not going to blame Lafreniere on him. That was the consensus top pick. Whoever had that pick was taking it. So that's not on him. That's on Lafreniere. Maybe he hasn't done the best to help develop him and do that, but you can't. To me, you can't blame that pick. But the rest of the draft stuff, the record speaks for itself. Now, I was sitting here after the deadline last year saying I don't mind the JT Miller move. He's trying to retool and make a run at a playoff spot next year. You have a guy like Shesterkin, you have a guy like Fox, you have all that. Sure, it made sense. That move has not worked out. It has been a colossal failure. That was your last chance to try and fix this. But the problem is Jim Dolan is not the world's best owner, to put it politely, and not the brightest individual on the planet, to put it politely, is friends with he likes Drury, I think, as a person, and he is unable, once he likes you, that gives you job security. Now, maybe getting the doors and the shit kicked out of you by the Ottawa Senators at home, who had a 5-6-0, maybe that wakes Dolan's eyes up a little bit to be like, all right, this is bad. But he's got to go, at least by the end of the year. I don't know if I want him handling another trade deadline. What if this guy says, screw it, I'm going to go, let's make a run. Like Chris said, that the Metropolitan's wide open. Hell, even that Eastern Conference Wild. I don't want him handling another trade deadline. Get rid of him. Pay him whatever you got to pay him. I don't care. You figure it out. You're the New York Rangers. You don't get to cry poverty as a franchise. Figure it out.
And who's next to pay for it? You know what I mean? They brought in Sullivan, and that hasn't really worked out. He brought in JT Miller, hasn't worked out. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Gavrikov, but you spent money.
Right move, but they needed more than that.
Right, but you spent a whole lot of money there, and you've left holes in the rest of your life. Who else are you going to blame? You're not going to can Sullivan. He just got here.
It's not his fault.
So at some point, the gun has no choice but to turn to Drury. That's the guy. All of this is now on you.
We've tried changing everything else. It's your turn.
We have. We've tried to bring in players. We've moved out other guys, right? You can't blame Trouba anymore. And you can't blame Kreider anymore. And you can't blame all these other guys. So at some point, it has to be him. And I'm of agreement with you. If you decide that this season is done and there are key pieces that need to be moved, then I don't want this guy in charge of any of that. Bring in the next guy who's going to be here and say, hey, we need to fix this. And whether you're not competitive for a couple of years is neither here nor there. But it sounds like nobody's having fun in New York. Like, for the first time, I think in forever, you'd probably want to walk out with an Islanders jersey right now, because it seems like it's a whole lot more fun in Long Island.
They're having a good time out there, and some 18-year-old kid named Matt Schaefer is going to become Cale Makar East if he keeps this up. Like, that's the trajectory he is on right now. So he's going to be the most popular hockey player in New York. The Islanders are, until the Devils can get their shit figured out, Islanders are going to be the best of
the Islanders are a cool hockey team now. Who would have thought?
To me, they were, I guess, they say like clothes go in and out of style. They were the cool team in the late 70s and early 80s. It's back. Let's do some quick fantasy ads for the week here before we get to our Thursday pucking preview here. Ant Rivera is still waiting on him, so I'm just going to throw his out there because he said Matty Beniers, and I think that's a good one, because if you need faceoffs, if you need like just some depth at your center spot, whether it's temporary or long-term, he's a guy that I've been adding and dropping as needed, and he's always provided stuff. And the Kraken tend to have a lot of games on off nights, I feel like, which that helps too.
That is important. If you need any defensive metric stat, Matty Beniers is the name to remember, because he does not drive the play. I don't know what happened. He's still 22, so he's got time to turn it around. The only downside is he plays in Seattle, and that team doesn't push any offense. But once in a while, right, a broken clock is right twice a day, and Seattle gets hot. They start scoring goals, but Beniers is there, and like you said, he's good at the faceoff dot. He plays a decent amount of minutes. He's going to get his couple shots. He won't hurt you. The problem is the offense is not there.
One guy I just want to throw out there, if he's still available, Chris Letang, because he's going to take that Erik Karlsson role on the Penguins. So if that's somebody you should absolutely. If I know there are some leagues like Chris Letang, like he's been owned all year, but like there are leagues where he is out there, depending upon how the settings are. This guy should go get mine. Speaking of defensive-minded centers, Anthony Cirelli. Braden Point is week to week with a lower body injury. If his Olympic status is in doubt, then him returning before then is even less likely. So Cirelli is the guy that benefits here. Cirelli is one of those players. He's a little bit of a better real-life player than fantasy player, but again, a guy that, across the board, the defensive statistics, he never disappoints as a streamer. He's out there usually as a center in deeper leagues, and now he's going to be on a top line for one of the hottest teams in hockey. Sign me up. Get that guy on board right now.
All the reasons you mentioned there. He's going to get an opportunity to play an offensive role on a team that is very, very good offensively, or at least play next to Nikita Kucherov. And that doesn't hurt anybody. I could play next to Nikita Kucherov and have some success. So, yes, I am of agreement. If you need a centerman, Cirelli I think he only has center eligibility, but still, he's in a good position, and it's for a couple of weeks. So it's not just like, oh, this week, and then next week figure it out. No, you can get a couple of weeks out of him, or at least until the Olympic break.
All right. Now, who's your ad for the week before we get to our Thursday puck and preview?
Mine is going to be Oliver Kapanen, Montreal Canadiens' second line centerman, rookie centerman, who leads all rookies in goals. Now, if you came into the year and saying everybody had, right, Demidov has possibility of winning Rookie of the Year. Schaefer is obviously, I definitely. Shafe Daddy is out there doing his thing. But Oliver Kapanen is out here and is reminding everybody that he is a good player. Now, there are lots of things that are working in his favor right now. One, he plays next to Demidov, and Demidov's vision is like anything else. He just goes out there and will find you. But Kapanen has the ability to finish, which is important. The Canadiens are also dealing with a ton of injuries. So he has been thrusted into this role to play the second line center. And we know that the Canadiens, for the better part of like 30 years, have been looking for center help. They still need a second line centerman. But I don't know if Ken Hughes and the boys are going to go out at the deadline and address that per se. You have guys who are going to get healthy at some point who can help you, right? Kirby Dach being the main name. Whether he plays center or whether he moves to the wing, doesn't matter. Juraj Slafkovsky, since joining that line, Juraj Slafkovsky himself has taken a massive step.
I was going to say his play ever since, because I've picked him up in fantasy because I've in leagues where he's left wing, right wing. I'm like, hey, he's playing better. And I haven't dropped him since.
His draft year, the one thing the consensus was as he was being talked about more through all the levels that he played, every line he was on got better. And there was a point a few years ago where his game was struggling. He joins Caulfield and Suzuki. He gets a lot better. Now it seems like he's the guy who stirs the drink because Caulfield and Suzuki no longer have their big boy. Alexander Texier has played well, yes, but he's not Uri Slafkovsky. And you can see Slafkovsky in his game. The puck is on his stick longer. He's holding it. He's protecting it. He's finally figuring out how to use that big boy frame. And everybody around him is getting a lot better. Kapanen is shooting a crazy, I think it's like 22% or something. Like, it's not sustainable. But for now, this line is fun. It's fun. They're going out there, and every time they're on the ice, at least in the offensive zone, they create chances. Do I think as the year goes on, players get healthy, maybe his ice time changes? Maybe. But if you're going to make the coaching staff move you off or change your way, like, force them to do it, right? If his game continues to play and this second line can find the back of the net and create offensive opportunities, he's not going anywhere. So I wouldn't move him off that second line center spot. I wouldn't change that line right now. He is there. He is readily available. I think he's like 18% on Yahoo. You can pick him up. Maybe he's not a staple on your team all year, but if you need some help, you need some scoring, he's a guy to consider.
Now the Canadians are in action tonight. They'll lead off our pucking preview. Here we go. All right, as we mentioned, the Canadians at the Sabres, 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Lane Hudson, 1 point away from 100 for his career, second fastest in NHL history for defenseman behind the great Sergei Zubov. Go watch highlight videos of him in the Rangers 94 Cup run. That guy, Sergei Zubov, man, I hated that they traded him. Anyway, Buffalo has won 14 of 16, 11 of those in regulation, coming off a victory last night against the Philadelphia Flyers. It's going to be Jacob Fowler for the Canadians, likely Colton Ellis for the Sabres here. If you're looking on the money line to make a bet here, the Sabres are plus 110 home dogs. Canadians minus 130 road favorites. Total is 6.5. I'm going to stay away from a side here. I like the over 6.5. I got that plus 100 at Caesars. Montreal 29-18 to the over, 14-9 to the over on the road. Sabres are a tick to the under overall and at home, but they are 12th in average goals per game. Montreal is 5th, and both teams are 20th below in average goals allowed per game. Buffalo's on a back-to-back. I feel like maybe they let a couple more in them, even if they win. And they'll likely have a little bit more open ice tonight. So maybe they score, they get up to that number again. They got 4 and then with the empty netter 5 because Philly's a little bit of a tougher team defensively. So I like the over 6.5 there.
Yeah, all of those numbers don't matter because Jacob Fowler is in goal, and he is fantastic. He is good. He just needs the rest of his team. I think it's a little bit criminal here that the Buffalo Sabres have won 14 of 16.
And they're home dogs.
Are home dogs. I get they're playing on back-to-back nights. Like, I understand, but that's disrespectful to them. I'm gonna from my heart. Listen, my heart knows. You know where it lands. I am like the Montreal Canadiens. I expect them to win, but from a statistical and a betting angle, it's the Sabres money line. So if anybody ever says I rooted for the Sabres over the Canadiens, this does not exist. This video is not here. You will not see it. Pull out like the Men in Black kind of like, the little pen there that comes out. You click it, boom, doesn't exist. But from a betting standpoint, which is what we care about, right? DFS does this as well, right? It turns you into an absolute monster, right? Again, the Buffalo Sabres are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. And when you're rolling and you're feeling good things are going to happen. Yes, the Montreal Canadiens are rested, but I think this game will be tighter. I just think getting plus money on a team that's won 14 out of 16 games, yes, it's a back-to-back, but still, I can't pass that value.
By the way, didn't mention it off the top, but I should. Last week, Tony Rivers 5-1 for 30-22 on the season. Chris 7-4 to go to 46-39 on the season. I went 6-4 to go to 53-45 on the season. 18-9 combined week for the three of us last week. So there we go.
5-1 for Tony Rivers. Holy.
Yeah. And
he was like, selective. Yeah, but he got there. You see?
And he always plays the modest, like, I didn't have time to prep for the mock draft this week in the summer. The newborn or the new kid or whatever. And then he comes in and just puts in solid drafts. And then he goes
he's got the odds on the TV with his son because nothing is happening in baseball for the Mets. So he's just got odds on the TV. His son is there. They're both maybe at the dentist's office on the screen while he's got his mouth open. He's got like all the odds. He's just going through it. That's what he's doing. He's spending 7 days prepping.
Hey, I just solved the riddle. I solved the problem. He gets so much dental work done, and we all know the stereotype of hockey players and dentists. I bet he goes to the Devils team dentist. He's getting insight that way.
Maybe.
Guaranteed.
That might be it. You might be onto something.
Flyers at Penguins, another 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Whose winless game streak is going to end first? Philly at 4 or Pittsburgh at 3? Somebody's got to get that extra point. It's going to be a Stu Skinner or likely Samuel Ersson since Vladar went last night in their loss to the Sabres. I'm staying away from this one. I'd like to take the Pittsburgh money line, a little too juiced. I don't love them enough to get it done in regulation. I lean under because of the way Skinner's been playing lately. 103 goals against, 955 save percentage in his last 4 after a train wreck first 3 starts. Here's the thing. Flyers, Penguins, like this could be like 9-5. Like these games get out of hand sometimes. No play for me.
Listen, friend of the show, Josh Wagner, put the playbook together today over the fantasy alarm. So I went over and I was reading that because he had some of his best bets, and he was very adamant about the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight.
Oh, he was.
He was. I know. And I was like, you're a homer, which he casually put in there for the whole world to see, calling me and another guy, Tula, from our Discord, because they always say, oh, we're just homers. But listen, his numbers were technically somewhat true there. The Pittsburgh Penguins, specifically Sidney Crosby, own the Philadelphia Flyers. So, and the Flyers are playing now on back-to-back night. Samuel Ersson is in goal because Vladar got hurt. So Samuel Ersson is not good at 10.
He's not good.
He is atrocious. So even if this game gets out of hand, which I think it could, Sidney Crosby and the boys are going to have fun. And the Flyers,
it's too juiced at -175 though. Are you
I'll
going
take regulation though. I will take them in regulation. I can't see this game being
-110.
There you go. See, in regulation, because the Flyers, the minute they fall behind, like they don't have the offense to keep up. Yes, they have moments, but from a general perspective, they don't generate a ton of chances, but they also don't give up many. They're a boring team to watch, but it's worked for them, right? Like I'm not dumping on them. I'm just saying it's worked out for them. But tonight with Ersson in goal, like Stuart Skinner just has to be decent. Yes, the loss of Erik Karlsson is not great, but Karlsson's not out there to play defense. So I would take the Penguins in regulation because, again, I think as this game goes on, the Penguins will have the edge.
All right, you talked me into it. I just added that. I was leaning that way, and I'll tail you and Josh here. By the way, our buddy Glenn on the other side of the planet. Good morning, guys. Love your insights. For me, I just had lunch like an hour and a half ago. Well, good morning for him on what? Yes. Friday. I had lunch a little while ago. Glad you're with us either way, Glenn.
Let us know if our bets hit since you're in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know. Wow. All over the planet, the talking thoughts here. Total Hockey Now, Fuzzy Chris 91. Hopefully we'll get joined by Ant Rivera 86 later today. Sharks at Capitals. First of a 4-game road trip for the Sharks. Washington looking for consecutive wins for the first time since early December. It's going to be Alex Nedeljkovic versus Logan Thompson. I'm surprised. I'm playing Detroit tomorrow. Nedeljkovic, having played for Detroit, I thought they would go Askarov tonight, Nedeljkovic tomorrow. Go the other way. Either way, no play here. I mean, I would consider the Caps in regulation at -120, but I don't know. Like maybe there's a little bit of a weird road adjustment for the Sharks, but because they can't get goaltending. Logan Thompson's been a little bit better lately, but nothing here for me.
Man, I don't know what numbers we're looking at. Something's clearly different. I'm taking the Capitals puck line. The Sharks can't defend, and they're on the road. So what's like the last time these two teams met? Okay, not that the past has any dictation of what will happen in the future, but the Capitals beat them on home ice 7-1. We know that outside of Macklin Celebrity, there's just a whole bunch of bodies for the Sharks. There's just guys just clocking in, trying not to get absolutely destroyed.
They're still missing Will Smith. He was supposed to potentially come back.
He's not playing tonight, which is what I've heard. So even if he did, this is a get right spot for the Capitals. You're at home against a team that cannot defend, that gives up a ton of shots. All you got to do is make sure Macklin's not out there running, doing what he wants. Slow down the one player. That's it. There's one guy on this team. Slow him down and then generate pucks on net. It sounds like Jacob Chikrin is going to play. He was dealing with all kind with illness. I don't know if he's got the flu, but like the Capitals are a good team defensively. They generate offense from the back end as well. There's too many reasons here for the Capitals to succeed. There's an abundance of ways. Doesn't matter what angle you try to take them from. So I agree with you. The money line is too juiced. I will lean on the puck line side. I think they can get a couple here. I'm not expecting this to be another 7-1 beatdown, but I am expecting the Capitals to score early, score often, and then just close it down and say, hey, we're done here.
You could get that for plus 145 at most books right now for the puck line for the Capitals. Minus 175 on the money line. If you think Sharks pull off the upset, money line's plus 145. Total is 6.5 there. But again, play for Chris, no play for me here. Next up on the docket, in the final of the 7 o'clock Easterns, is the Vancouver Canucks at the Columbus Blue Jackets. Canucks are on an 8-game winless streak. Zach Werenski, a 15-game home point streak. It's Kevin Lankinen versus Elvis Merzlikins. And when you hear that's the goalie matchup, smash the over 6.5 at the best number you can find, which I got it at minus 120 at Caesars, which, by the way, Caesars tends to have the better value. It feels like their books are slow to adjust compared to some of the other ones. They do, but like they feel like they're on Alaskan time or we're on Pacific time kind of thing, I feel like. So I do find myself betting a lot over there. But both teams shade to the overall, say that a bunch. And yes, both teams stink at scoring, but the Blue Jackets allow 3.37 goals per game, 5th worst. Vancouver, 3.59, 2nd worst. It's Merzlikins for the Blue Jackets, who's allowed 3 or more in his last 12 games, while posting a 4.24 goals against and an 8.61 save percentage. I know Kevin Lankinen had a good start against Ottawa, sharp, but like overall 3.34 goals against 87 save percentage. Smash the over.
Yeah, Kevin Lankinen didn't have a good start. He was out of this world. He was elite. So there's only so many times a goalie needs to be elite before bad things start to happen. Listen, the Canucks gave up 41 shots to the Montreal Canadiens when they were in town. Like, the Montreal Canadiens don't generate any type of shots. Like, they are one of the lowest shooting teams in the NHL. And you give up 41 to them? Nah, ain't no way. The Canucks are going to get blown out of the water. This one's not. So I will take the Jackets in regulation. I won't go all the way here to cover the puck line, but Jackets in regulation. But the mortgage on the over, because it doesn't matter who's coaching this team. Elvis Merzlikins is not good. It doesn't matter. And the Canucks, like, they got nothing to lose. So go out there and just play hockey. Just throw the puck at the net. Do something. Doesn't matter what. You're not playing for a playoff spot. You're a lottery team at this point. You're in a full rebuild. Someone get
You're the
Gavin
only
McKenna.
team in the league worse than the Rangers at home.
Get Gavin McKenna one of those one-way tickets to Vancouver. Send them there now. Might as well get it started. This one I expect to be just some back and forth, not a single ounce of defense, not a single ounce of care. Blue Jackets will win. So in 60, and then what? The over hits like midway through the second, maybe by the end of the second.
Second intermission, I would say.
Yeah, by intermission, it's 5-3 for somebody.
Regulation victory minus 110 for the Blue Jackets. On the money line, minus 166. So maybe if you want to parlay that in with something else, the total 6.5 right now. And then, if you want to go on the puck line, if you think Columbus wins big, it's plus 145 over at DraftKings right now. That does it for the 7 o'clock window. Now, when I looked at this one, I'm like, the Bruins have an 8 o'clock Eastern puck drop on a Thursday night, and then I saw Zdeno Chara's jersey retirement ceremony, so that'll be fun. One of the all-time great Bruin defensemen, one of the great all-time, I'll say one of the great defensemen of the last 30, 40 years, one of the all-time greats of that era. I'm not going to go on and on about Chara. We all know how good he was, but Kraken's 5th back-to-back in the last 24 days tonight. Bruins are on a 4-game home winning streak here. It's going to be Joey Decord versus Jeremy Swayman. Looking here on the money line, Bruins minus 180, Kraken plus 150. Totals 5.5. Bruins on the puck line is plus 145. Kraken minus 175. Wouldn't necessarily do that. Here's what I'm going to do. The Bruins in regulation. The catch, like we said, catching Seattle on a back-to-back. Seattle to go to overtime against the Devils last night. Bruins are 6-1 overall in their last 7 and 16-8-1 at home this season. Kraken have definitely been playing better lately, but I'll take the Bruins at home here on Zdeno Chara night.
I will take the over here. Those are a lot of back-to-back games for the Kraken. And Joey Decord has not been as good as Philip Grubauer, which is a sentence I didn't think I would ever say any point, whether it was in 2025 or 2026. But here we are. So I also the late start teams, like players have their routine. If you change it by a millimeter, the whole universe is off balance here. So this is a late start as well. All the pregame stuff, like the Kraken are just sitting, right? I don't like they're in the locker room watching the TV, having a great time. All the Bruins players are probably going to be out there, enjoying the ceremony and whatnot. Zdeno Chara is a great defenseman, Hall of Fame, obviously deserves it. Listen, I will remember him for what he did to Max Pacioretty in his Skull. So, it is what it is, Biggs. Listen, it is what it is. But I will say this at the same time. Because of that hit, it did force the NHL to round the glass at those junctions. So now when the players bench edge, before it was like an edge and they put some padding on it because,
at that speed is not really doing that.
Right. Not a single engineer works for the NHL. And then they were like, hey, why don't we round it a little bit? That should probably help. Right. So it did spark some change. But again, that was tough. I remember watching it when it happened. There was like on TV, they were like, hey, maybe do we prosecute Zdeno Chara, drop down some criminal? And I was like, let's not go that far. But that's what I remember Zdeno Chara for mostly. But outside of that, fantastic defenseman, played forever, still running marathons. Man is not human. He's alien at some point.
And I just think Mike Milbury gave him away basically when he had him on the
Islanders. Literally for free. They're like, hey, take him.
Hey, take him away. Also here looking at this now, most books have this total at 6. Last call DraftKings for 5.5 over is -135, as Chris mentioned there. Moving on to the only other 8:00 Eastern puck drop tonight, we got the Winnipeg Jets at the Minnesota Wild. The Jets are on a 3-game win streak after being abysmal for a month. They have lost their last 9 on the road though. Taves has got a 3-game goal streak. Wild have a 5-game home winless streak against the Jets. So I mean, it's a little bit. It's a rivalry. Kaprizov's got a 3-game goal streak versus Winnipeg. It's going to be Hellebuck versus Jesper Wallstedt. So going to be an excellent goaltending matchup there. Total at 5.5. Minnesota favored -142. Winnipeg +120. If you want to maybe look at a regulation play on either side, Minnesota +115. Winnipeg +170. I'm going to ride the Jets' momentum a little bit here. It's a little pizza money play. Take them on the money line at +120. Hellebuck seems to he's won 2 in a row. He seems to slowly be regaining his form. Maybe gets his mojo back here. I'd also look at the under 5.5 too, just for the goalie matchup here, but that's you're not going to get a ton of great value. I mean, it's still +100 at DraftKings. So,
no play here. Just too much. Like the Wild, like you said, the Wild have been a little bit inconsistent. The Jets, who knows what Jets team shows up tonight? Maybe it's the Winnipeg Jets of a couple of years ago, or maybe it's the New York Jets, but I don't know which team is showing up. I'm not going to lay any money on the other side.
If the Jets show up, you definitely play the over, and potentially if the New York Green Jets show up, then you have to play the puck line for the Wild. But the Jets did not get an interception the entire season.
Jets didn't get an interception. The Winnipeg Jets are last in their division. Just anything associated with Jets right now is just not good. I'm going to tweet later at Howard Bender, right? Fantasy Alarm, GOAT. I'm going to ask him if he's a fan of the Winnipeg Jets. I know he's a Rangers fan, or he was, because he lived in New York, which is unfortunate. But maybe I'm going to ask him if he's now a Winnipeg Jets fan, because both teams are absolutely terrible, and that way he can feel at home. Maybe I'll send him a Jets jersey. Be like, hey, put it next to the New York Jets one.
FantasyAlarm.com, NHL for Chris's NHL work on other days of the week, and where you can also catch the great Howard Bender doing what he does with football and baseball year round. So a staggered start time. Good job. Flames at Blackhawks. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We did it. We got it. We got one at least tonight.
See, you can do it, Gary.
Possible. Looking on the play here, it's going to be Devin Cooley versus Spencer Knight. Looking on the money line here, Blackhawks -120 home favorites. Calgary +100. Total 6.5. call me crazy. I'm going to take the Blackhawks on the puck line at plus 210. Chicago 31-15 against the spread, 17-7 at home. Calgary 11-14 against the spread on the road. Blackhawks have covered this in the last 2 wins and in both of their prior meetings against Calgary this season. The Flames have won their last 2 starts with Devin Cooley, but let's face it, Connor Bedard coming back. That's the story of the game here. So I think they get a boost from that. And also the Flames, 1.83 goals per game since January 1st. So a lot of reasons for me to take a stab on the puck line here and maybe get a nice hit.
I'm actually going to take the under here. I don't know why it's 6.5. So who's scoring for the Flames? Who's scoring? Devin Cooley's actually not been as terrible. He hasn't been as bad. Dustin Wolf on the road is a problem. When you see Dustin Wolf in goal on the road, load up against whoever he's playing. His goals against average is above 4 on the road. Can't stop the puck. I mean, I understand why it happens because the Calgary Flames are bad, but like Devin Cooley's been decent. Spencer Knight has been fantastic this year for large stretches. I don't see this being an absolute barn burner. Like, I don't see both teams out here trading chances. Even if they did, one team can't bury them. So even if the Hawks win 5-0, you still don't get there. So I'll take the under. I feel like that's good value there.
Under 6.5 is -130 at DraftKings. Last call for the 6.5 as it's 6 at most books. But still -130.
I would still do 6. If you could find 6.5, I'll swallow a little bit. Like 135 is not bad. But I'll do the under 6 as well. Take the push.
Under 6 you could get for +100 at Circa right now. So that's going to be a best value there. So there we go. So now we get into the 9 o'clock Eastern window. Stars at Mammoth. Dallas has a 10% power play success rate over their last 9 games. It was 32% in the prior 10 games. Utah's got a 5-game point streak going 4-0-1. It's going to be Jake Ottinger versus the league leader in wins, Karel Vejmelka. Staying away, I would lean over 6, but I could also see that pushing. Utah's been playing better lately. Dallas is the better team. They've had a little bit of a bumpy path recently, but I think this will be a good hockey game. It'll be a close hockey game, but I'm not touching it.
Mammoth money line. They got the goalie who leads the league in wins, and the Stars are turning to Jake Ottinger, who hasn't really had a great season. His numbers are kind of all over the place. The Stars as a team have been all over the place. They have had some matchups where they are clearly the best team and they lose. So I don't know what's going on there with Dallas. Merrill Heiskanen is out of the lineup again. He's still dealing with a family issue. So losing Heiskanen is a big piece on the blue line here. I just don't think Dallas. I believe the Stars are favorites tonight, which I feel like is too much love for a team that is that inconsistent.
Now, there we go for that game. Now, State of Survival checking in the check. I also predict that Schaefer will score a lot of goals on this road trip. And speaking of the Islanders road trip, that's the other 9 o'clock Eastern puck drop. We only got we're flying through these games. We only got one more game to go after this one. Maple Leafs Golden Knights. We'll talk about that one. But right now, Islanders at Oilers, 9 o'clock Eastern. Looking on the money line here, Edmonton is -162 home favorites. Islanders +136. Total 6.5. Looking for a regulation victory for either of these teams. -105 for the Oilers. +210 for the Islanders. It's going to be Ilya Sorokin versus Connor Ingram going between the pipes. Leon Draisaitl's got a 5-game point streak, 5 goals and 5 assists. So Edmonton, no regulation losses in that stretch. But the bigger story, Connor McDavid, 20-game point streak. 19 goals and 27 assists in that. That's some guys' entire seasons. Islanders are winless in 6 straight road games. Another one I'm going to stay away from here, but I'm leaning under 6.5 if you put I had to pick something.
Listen, Connor Ingram hasn't been terrible. It's Connor Ingram, but he hasn't been terrible. And the Islanders have struggled a little bit. They've given up some goals of late, but Ilya Sorokin is back in net. Sorokin has been good. I'll lean with you on the under here. I think 6.5 is a little bit too much. I get why it would be intimidating because McDavid is confirmed he will finish again this season. He could not play a single game the rest of the year. He still finishes with a point per game. That's just how dominant he is in general. So I get how that is. The Oilers have the best power play in the league by a wide margin. They're operating at close to 34%. The problem is the Islanders are not a heavily penalized team. They are extremely disciplined. So if you can stay disciplined against the Oilers and not give them the opportunity to bury you on that 5-man unit that is just clicking and going around and turning you inside out, should be fine. Should be fine. So if Ingram holds his ground, Sorokin does his job, which he's done all year, and the Islanders stay out of the box, maybe we see maybe a 3-1 game either side, maybe 4-2 gets us home. That's all we're looking for.
6.5 for everywhere right now. Just to go back to how good Ilya Sorokin's been, and he's allowed 3 or fewer in 18 of 19 games, going 12-6-1 in that run, 204 goals against and a .932 save percentage. Didn't have a great night against Winnipeg, but hey, when you're on a run like that, you're going to have a blip on the radar. Like you said, Ingram 29-30 in a 4-1 win over Chicago the other night in terms of saves. 270 goals against, 904 save percentage in the 7 games he's played this season with the Oilers, 4-2-1. So like you said, I mean, I can't believe that it's going to be like, I know when Jarry comes back, Jarry Ingram maybe would be pretty good, but not so much Picker. Final game of the night. Maple Leafs or Golden Knights. Now, it's not Marner's return to Toronto, but it is the first time he's playing the Maple Leafs since he left to head to Nevada. Vegas is on a 5-game win streak, 6 for 13 on the power play during that. Also, Mark Stone's got a 9-game point streak. Jack Eichel's got a 6-game point streak. Looking at the goaltending matchups here, it's going to be Joseph Wall for Toronto, and we assume Aiden Hill for the Golden Knights since Akira Schmid went last night. Carter Hart's just not trustworthy at all right now. Looking on the money line for either of these teams here, -130 Golden Knights home favorites, +110 road dogs for the Maple Leafs. Total is 5.5 at DraftKings, -135. What is your take on this one as we talk about our 10th and final game on the Thursday slate?
I would feel better if I knew Aiden Hill was playing or not. This is still a back-to-back spot here for Vegas, so not ideal. But I mean, Toronto on the road, not ideal as well. I have no play, but if I did want some action here, it would 100% be right in any right 2 of them. So it would be Mitch Marner to score a goal because that's happening, and then it would. Scored last night, right? And Mitch Marner, listen, he's moved to center, which is interesting, but it's given them a lot of depth down the middle. And he's shooting the puck a little bit more. Granted, he's not a high volume shooter to start with. So when he's shooting the puck 3 times a game, you're like, oh my God, slow down, Mitchie. So yes, Mitch Marner to score a goal. I would also take Mitch Marner to get a point. Just if you don't want to go all the way here and say, oh, he's not getting a goal. I'm just saying there's a lot of money on the board tonight. He's hyped up for it. He may downplay it and say whatnot. He's seeing the boys on the other side. He knows what's going on in Toronto. Listen, you can escape Toronto, but that media and everything that's going on, in Canada, you will be tied into it no matter what. Probably went out. No, maybe didn't go out since they were playing yesterday. Maybe he hung out with, Austin, Willie,
swung by the hotel,
swung by the core 4, hanging out one last time, So that's if you care about player props, that's what I would care about here. This game, I could care less because it's either going to finish like 3-1 or 7-5. I just don't know which side, and I do not care.
So with Marner centering, he's got Dorofeev on the line with him, who's a shooter. So, I mean, I love the point play there. If you, like you said, you don't want to go all the way in the goal. So the total's at 6 at most books. It's 5.5 at DraftKings. I'll pay for that 5.5. I'm going to go over. All right. I mean, listen, first Marner Matthews meeting. This is going to turn into anything you can do, I can do better. And if you're not into the narratives thing, that's fine. Because Toronto is 26-20 to the over. Vegas 25-20 to the over, and 14-8 to the over home at home to the over, I should say. Toronto 11-9 on the road. Vegas has cleared this total in 3 of their last 5. Toronto's coming off that embarrassing loss the other night to Utah, but they've managed to score 4 or more in 6 of 7 prior to that. If the Flyers, gave a little bit of a tougher matchup to Buffalo, and I feel like they'll have more open ice against Montreal tonight. Same thing applies with the Golden Knights against the Leafs after playing the Kings last night. Vegas has scored 5 or more in 4 straight. So bottom line is I'll take the over here at 5.5. It did open at 6.5, so it has come down to 6 at most spots, with DraftKings getting it all the way down to 5.5 there. and I'll take that instead of the potential push at 6.
That's that. I'm not going on the over, but I agree with your statement. Once for a book to move it from 6.5 all the way down to 5.5, I don't think the Aiden Hill being back, like Aiden Hill hasn't played hockey in forever. There's going to be some rust there, back-to-back nights. I'm not getting talked into the over, but I'm just saying I'm rooting for Mitch Marner tonight, specifically because I have money as well on him scoring a goal and at least picking up a point.
So he's been activated as of 30 minutes or a half hour ago. Carter Hart is placed on the IR along with Brandon Saad. So yeah, it looks like he's going to be the guy to go tonight, especially if Schmid went last night. Although, I mean, okay. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, looking like Maiden Hill's going to go, and maybe that's why DraftKings down. So there you go. That is the conclusion of our pucking preview. So just to go through our picks here, Chris is going prop point with a prop in this game with Toronto at Vegas there. He's saying grab either a point or even a goal with Marner. I've got the over 5.5. When it comes to the Islanders at the Oilers, I'm leaning under 6.5, but staying away. Chris is going to do it, and maybe by the time we get off the air, I'll make it an official pick. Stars at Mammoth. He's taking the Mammoth money line -115. I'm staying away. Flames Blackhawks. He's got the under 6.5 at -130. 6 at most books -105. I've got the Blackhawks to cover a puck and a half +210 because numbers definitely indicate that way. Jets at Wild. I've got the Jets money line. Pizza money play there. Chris is staying away. I'd consider the under at 5.5, but it might be a little tight. Kraken at Bruins. I've got the Bruins to win in regulation, -110. You've got the total over 5.5, -135. We're both smashing the over in this one, 6.5. You're going to take Columbus on the win in regulation as well. And then going up the Sharks Capitals, I'm staying away. You've got the Capitals on the puck line at +142. Flyers at Penguins. We're both going to take them to win in regulation at -110, also because of the great Josh Wagner. And then the first game we talked about, Canadians at Sabres. I've got the over 6.5, even money at Caesars. And you got the Sabres money line +110, as we both feel that's a disrespectful home dog there, considering how strong they've been playing lately. Now, we're almost done here. But we're going to debut a new segment, which I would like to call I Hab A Question, which we know our resident Canadians fan here. He will provide an in-depth answer here. It's not something we're going to do every week, but as I think of random things that I want to ask a Canadians fan, I'm going to do it. So question for today is going to be, is Saku Koivu number retire worthy for a franchise that has had the history it has? Does he deserve it?
Man, that is like... Saku did a lot of things for Montreal, and outside of his battle with cancer and everything like that, and the leader that he was, I don't think fans appreciated him as much when he was here. It took him leaving and then everything going on to kind of be like, hey, this guy was a great captain. Now, I'm going to say no. I'll answer the question this way. And the reason is because if you look at the history and the banners that are up there, those are some of the, not just Montreal Canadian legends, but hockey legends in itself. And I don't have Saku as a Hall of Famer in my book, at least not today. And I don't know if it'll garner any of that, moving forward. So, to me, if you can't get into the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's extremely hard then to get your number retired for the Montreal Canadiens specifically. He is a fantastic player. His son was drafted in the 3rd round, and people love Saku now more than ever. And there were some rough years there, and it was through no fault of his own. He is as much a Montrealer, figuring it out. But I can't put him in the rafters when you look up at some of the names that are there and say, yeah, he has earned it. I can't put him there. But I mean, I love Saku and everything that he does. And again, he didn't get the credit. You don't know what you have until it's gone. And then you realize, you're like, man, this guy went to bat.
Like you said, it was a little bit of not to say a forgotten error for the Canadians, but maybe a little bit of an overlooked error where he was a prominent player. And normally I think number retirements are perfect for you're not Hall of Fame worthy, but you meant that much to the franchise. We got to honor you somehow. But then there are franchises that are exceptions to the rule. Yankees being one of them in baseball because they have so many retired numbers. And you have so many, like you said, not just franchise greats, but greats of the game. I understand that's Yankee bias, but you can't deny that they have a lot of retired numbers and a lot of those guys deserve it. You have to start to be a little more selective because A, to have options of numbers people can wear. B, it does that banner deserve to hang alongside some of those other ones. So I agree. I think if he was Saku Koivu was on probably about we'll say 28 other franchises, yeah, I would say so, but not with the Canadians. Now we have our first fan submitted question for the I have a question segment. Chris, how do you see the Montreal goaltending situation in March? Which that reaction right there tells you everything you need to know.
Listen. This team won't learn. Some teams, the Montreal Canadiens have a ton of players on their lineup right now. Just they have a ton of bodies that are hurt, right? They have 4 forwards that are hurt that you can consider regulars. When those guys are healthy, there are some choices that need to be made in the lineup. Defensively, I think the 7 guys you see are going to stick there. The goaltending has to be settled. It has to be figured out. In my mind, the easy route is to send Jacob Fowler back to the AHL, let him go on a run there with the Montreal Canadiens, AHL roster. They're doing a good job. They can go back to the playoffs. He can get another run. Yes, even if the Montreal Canadiens are destined to, be in a playoff spot come end of the season, Montembeault has been better since being recalled. He went down. He had a conditioning stint. It did not go well, but he's come back and he looks better. He looks better. Some people are arguing that you send Jakub Dobes down because he has struggled the most out of the 3 since Montembeault's come back. But at the same time, I don't want Fowler sitting here. So it's either you play him or you send him to the American Hockey League where he can play a lot. But the 3-headed monster, this 3-headed rotation has to end. There are not many successful hockey teams that run 3 goalies. I can't name many of them. You have to find a solution to this. In my mind, it's going to be Samuel Montembeault and Jakub Dobes who are going to do as much as they can to tend the goal until one of them figures it out, whoever it is. And if there's a time split there, it's fine. But right now, both goalies play about once a week. And that's just not enough. It's not enough.
Do you see any move in the crease for the deadline?
I can't imagine the Montreal Canadiens moving Samuel Montembeault just because then it leaves you with basically 2 rookie goalies. That's
maybe bringing another one in, maybe making a shakeup in the crease.
No, there's no point because you signed Capo Caco. Like he's in the AHL, and that's like his role is to hold a spot there, right? And again, if you did move Montembeault and sent, I don't know what, Primo down, sorry, not Primo down, Fowler down. Like there's, it doesn't sound like they're going to move him. As much as I would love for them to move Samuel Montembeault, because I don't think he's a starter. I think he's done well, but I don't think he's a long-term starter here. And I don't think he's a starting goalie overall. But I get this in terms of fantasy. You want to have somebody who's going to roll with it. There are lots of teams that are doing the kind of that 50-50 split, right? And it's worked for them, right? A lot of teams doing it. Think of the Minnesota Wild. It's one of those things that you have to live with. But from a fantasy perspective, I don't want the 3rd goalie there. Pick one and then send them somewhere. And the idea is either it's Fowler or you're moving somebody, and I don't know who it is.
I'll say the only team where the 3-headed goalie monster actually is not detrimental is Carolina, and that's a unique situation when Freddie Anderson's healthy because you know how fragile he is, and when Kochetkov is healthy, and you got Bussy coming up here. But I mean, it appears to be his crease moving forward anyway. But like a situation like that is the only time where I'm like, all right, maybe a 3-headed monster makes sense. But outside of that,
it's
only 2 nets practice.
It's back-to-back years of 3-headed monsterness. Jacob Fowler has earned his spot here. He has earned his NHL paycheck, and he is very calm, cool, and collected. But he is still a rookie goalie, and it takes time in that position to just work on your craft, right? And slowly but surely, teams are going to have that book on him, and they're going to figure out what, where his weaknesses are, because everybody does film, everybody does research. They'll figure out that glove side, between the pad kind of thing is where a lot of the goals kind of go in. But again, it is, if your goal is to win a Stanley Cup or at least make it out of the first round, having rookie goalies there is tough, is very tough. So that's why I don't think they move Montembeault. I think they're going to try to split 50-50 starts between him and Dobes. And again, you could do a 50-50 split with Fowler, but I want him to play as much hockey as possible. So whether it's in the AHL or in the NHL, I want him to see the bulk of the starts because he's the guy of the future. Let him play.
There we go. That's how we see the Canadiens goaltending situation shaking out here as we, again, not that far away from the Olympic break. Now, that'll do it for this edition of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. Reach out to the show, totalhockeynow@gmail.com. Also, other ways you can get out to us. We mentioned fantasyalarm.com/NHL. That's where you'll see a lot of Chris's work on other days of the week. Our buddy Ant Rivera 86 not here, but this is his Mets podcast at Subway to Shea. Chris, the Slapshot podcast. What do we got coming up there on the next episode?
Something's coming out tomorrow. We'll figure it out in the shower tomorrow morning. Something will hit me. That's how it happened last time. So we'll find something, go through the news of the week. I have an idea of what I want it to be. If nothing else pops up, we'll talk about a player who's getting a little bit disrespected, and he hasn't warranted completely. I understand that it's, he's aging, but I want some, keep his name out of your mouth, kind of.
Oh, okay. There you go. I mean, if you needed more of a tease, that's on you. That's a pretty good one right there. At Rip and Riff for myself and at Mr. Jared Moore comes out on Mondays. Plenty of football and hockey content there while we rip football and hockey packs. And of course, we'll be back with you next Thursday, January 22nd, for the next edition of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. Now, we thank everybody that's watching, either live, checked in, or catching us here, getting some picks at the last second before pucks drop later on this evening around the NHL. But at Fuzzy Chris 91, I am at Puck Thoughts Adam Bernard. Back with a new episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel next week.